heavily part of prelims. 19, 16, 25, 20 questions. Earlier in 2019, 20, we had 20 to 25 questions coming from in prelims from environment. Okay, this has come down to 15, 16, but 15, 16 is also a heavy number here. Okay, 15, 16 matlab you 30 marks difference can be created with or without environment. Okay, so first important reason why we are studying environment is because it is part of our syllabus. Okay, because also the forest services exam is conducted with prelims, civil services exam. When you are taking the UPSC exam, you have an option of filling either for civil services or for forest services or for both of them, because the prelims is same for both civil and forest. So you can expect more number of forest related questions. That's why environment is more present in your paper. Okay, now apart from all this reason, there is also a genuine concern related to environment. Okay, do you recognize this? Have you seen this anywhere in newspaper and magazines anywhere? No? Okay, this is basically a climate clock. Okay, a climate clock refers to a time period. This is showing 6 years, 226 days, 3 hours, 17 minutes and 51 seconds. Okay, so this is a climate clock which is depicting after how much period of time we will cross 1.5 degrees increase in our temperature. Okay, if we are saying 1.5 degree increase, matlab there should be a base level, and this base level is the pre-industrial level. So we had industrialization in which year? Go ahead, louder. Correct, mid of 18th century. Mid of 18th century was the phase where entire world was industrializing. So before industrial revolution, okay, whatever be the global temperature, from there 1.5 degree rise we cannot afford. Okay, so there was a deal of global leaders, UNFCCC, wherein people sat together and decided 1.5 to 2 degree breach. If we cross 2 degrees, matlab this is a very heavy breach. 2 degrees than the pre-industrial level, 1.5 degrees than the pre-industrial level. Okay, I'll give you certain examples. If we cross this 1.5 degrees global warming, 3 of our major coastal cities, which were first metropolitan cities of India, can you name them? Mumbai. First 4 metropolitans of India. Correct. West Bengal is a state. Kolkata, correct? Correct. So these were first 4 metropolitans: Delhi, Bombay, Chennai and Kolkata. Out of these 4, 3 are coastal. Bombay. What about Delhi? Kolkata. It's not coastal. Delhi is not coastal, correct? So Kolkata, West Bengal, Bay of Bengal, Mumbai, Maharashtra, Arabian Sea, and Madras, Tamil Nadu, Bay of Bengal. 3 of our major coastal cities, coastal metropolitans will get drowned. We will not be having any city by the name Madras. We will not be having any city by the name Kolkata, or we will not be having any city by the name Mumbai. If we cross this level, okay, and the Paris Climate Deal, wherein I'm talking about the sitting of global leaders, they have said, still saying 2.5 degrees will be a very heavy loss. 1.5 degrees may we will reach a zone where it will be irreversible change. Okay, the global temperatures will rise to such extent and its effect on climate will be so much that we will never be able to return back to whatever life we were living earlier. Okay, so that is why it is a very genuine concern, extremely serious matter of whatever is going on in environment. Okay, so apart from this, before discussing the syllabus, I was telling see, because those people who are preparing your paper, okay, they are sitting in the ministry, they are sitting with the government. Okay, so they know many things which the government is planning, which we do not know. Okay, for example, government tomorrow comes up with a particular bill. Okay, until and unless the bill has been introduced in Lok Sabha or has been published in Gazette, we will not get to know that the government was planning about this, right? But those who are preparing your paper, they are sitting inside the government with the ministries. They know that the government is planning to come up with such a bill. Okay, so they can ask you any question which you might expect to come in future. Okay, an incident which is about to happen in future but will be in your paper. Okay, so with respect to environment, we need to keep tracking any development which the ministries are planning to do also. Okay. Now coming to the syllabus part. What is how much time we will reach 1 point? That's what is the climate clock. 6 years to 26 days. Okay, this has come down to less than 6 years itself. No, more than 6 years, but around 200 days left. Okay, steps within this time period, correct? Okay. Okay, now coming to the syllabus, this is again important part, because as I've told you in IR, the same thing goes for environment, same thing goes for any subject. Okay, you can expect questions from the direct terms, from conservation of environment, from environmental pollution, from degradation, from EIA. Direct questions can appear from the terms of syllabus. Okay, so syllabus is extremely important. Please note it down. Syllabus. Come. Can be current affairs also, and we will be discussing with every topic, whatever is there in current affairs, whatever is there in static, we have ready questions for that. We will be discussing them in class. Okay, done writing this syllabus. You people had class in the morning also, right? Acha, Suhas sir, right? IR, society, environment, CSAT, and current affairs. All my subjects are mostly related to current affairs only. IR is also current affairs, environment is also current affairs. Society my schemes are also current affairs. So they are in line. This looks only. This looks only. This is not only. It's very huge. Okay, environment is actually very big, and because the things are changing very fast, it becomes bigger. Okay, acha, this I think I've told in IR class also. Read, revise, repeat. This should be your only funda for all the subjects. Read, revise, and repeat. Do not go for multiple sources. Multiple sources is a very big mistake. Okay, done by most of the aspirants. Once you start, see, for example, you're walking with your friends and your friends read something, let's say in Yojana, Kurukshetra, any scheme, okay, that they have read it there, and they ask questions to you, and they said, Acha, you don't know this, I read it in Yojana. Then you will feel like I should start with Yojana because I did not know about this. Okay, you please have patience. All these schemes will still be discussed by newspapers. Okay, and let's say even if you do not know about it, and it was you have been thorough with newspapers and it did not come in newspaper, you still take up the scheme, do a Google search and read about it. That's it. Okay, don't go for starting with a new material. That is a very big problem. Okay, so limited resources and multiple revisions should be your focus with respect to any subject. Okay, now coming to basically what I'll be showing you here, and be asking you to write a small set of out of it, is a bird's eye view. See, once you are done with your prelims, okay, once you clear your prelims, you will get DAF, detailed application form, coming from UPSC, that you need to fill. Okay, once you fill the detailed application form and you read the instructions coming from the website of UPSC itself, it says what kind of, prelims is an eliminating exam. They just want to eliminate certain candidates there. But mains is an exam of selection. They want to select from there. Okay. So when you're taking mains, they will give you an instruction of what kind of people they are looking in mains. Okay, what kind of candidates they are looking for. Okay, so with that they have given you certain instructions related to essay. How are you supposed to write the essay? There should be a connectivity of thought, flow of thought, breakage of pointers. Okay, let's say you're discussing some social point, then economic point, then there should be a socio-economic point in between. If you are discussing economic pointers and cultural pointers, then there should be an economic and cultural point in between. Getting my point? So that is how they have given instructions related to every subject with respect to essay, with respect to paper 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now bird's eye view is what they are expecting you to have. They want you to have picture of anything that you are reading in a bird's eye view. For example, let us say marine oil spill. Marine oil spill you will see very often in newspaper. Somewhere in Arctic, somewhere in Indian Ocean, some ship collided and faced, the entire region was covered with oil. Okay? So marine oil spill is an issue. Now, with respect to this issue, what are the social aspects? What are the environmental aspects? What are the economic aspects? What are the political aspects? IR aspects? What are the international conventions? Are you getting my point? So, this is what is known as a bird's eye view. You should try to look at any issue with a bird's eye view, with socio-economic, cultural, political, historical concepts. Okay. So, here we are discussing the bird's eye view of the entire syllabus. Okay, so within environment, I want you guys to know about all of this. Within, let's say, aquatic ecosystem, all these things should be known to you. With respect to air pollution, all these things should be known to you. Okay, so this is a bird's eye view of unit 1 that we are planning to discuss today, environment. Okay, I'll make you write this part. As and when we start discussing in class, we will be writing down the bird's eye view of that particular class. Okay. So in today's class, we will be discussing about what is environment and what is ecology, okay, and the difference between those two. Along with that, we will be understanding the meaning of ecosystem, habitat, niche, biosphere, and the levels of organization. Okay. After we are done with this, then we will be reading about the principles of ecology. Within environment unit itself, we will also be discussing about the principles of ecology. It can be adaptation, can be variation, speciation, mutation. Matlab, basically here we will be discussing why an organism is found at a particular place, why this kind of beak, why such long legs, why such short feet, why tall ears. Okay, such kind of morphological adaptations or behavioral adaptations. Matlab, you will find certain kind of penguins clustering together and living. Certain animals will live in dispersal. Certain animals will be nocturnal. Certain plants will be broadleaf. Certain trees will be short leaf. Or there will be certain places wherein stem is holding water. Some places where leaf is holding water. So why such kind of behavior exhibited by any flora or any fauna? This we will be reading about within the principles of ecology. Principles of ecology govern the morphological behavior of or morphological study of ecology. Why a person or a flora or fauna is looking like something. Okay, getting my point in principles of ecology? Okay, after that we will be discussing certain concepts. These are certain terms that you will be witnessing very often even in newspapers. Ecotone, ecological footprint, biocapacity, and ecological deter. Okay, so hopefully this is our target today. But in future classes, we will also be discussing about functions of ecosystem, okay, or with respect to air pollution, terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem, and air pollution, and so on. Okay, this is just a sample. Today's our target is unit 1, that's environment. Okay, so let us begin with this. I'll give you time to write the index part. Okay. No, so coming to the environment part. So what is environment basically? Environment consists of the biotic as well as abiotic component. Biotic refers to, this part refers to something that is living. Okay. We are calling it biotic because it is living, it is alive. Biotic refers to something that is alive, whereas abiotic component, which is dead, which is not living. Okay, for example, abiotic components can be example of soil. Okay, it can be water, it can be air, it can be any nutrients also, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and all that. Okay, these are all abiotic components because they are not living. Okay, there are certain biotic components. For example, human beings, for example animals, for example plants, they are all living, or microbes, they are all living, right? So to understand the meaning of environment, let's say in this classroom we are talking about a classroom environment. In a classroom environment there will be certain biotic components like all of us, and there will be certain imbiotic components such as chair, table, fan, light, laptop and all that. Okay? So this biotic as well as abiotic component together, which is surrounding an organism, is known as the organism's environment. Okay? Now, every component will have a role in survival and evolution as well as development of that organism. Okay? For example, this chair, this light, this fan, they are all of these are contributing in your evolution, your, let's say, knowledge increase. Okay? But ultimately these are helping you as an organism to survive, right? So we call this as an environment which consists of biotic as well as abiotic component, which is together helping the organism to evolve or to get nutrition or to reproduce. Okay? And its core term is environ. Environ basically means anything that surrounds. Okay? Anything that surrounds an organism will be part of its environ. Okay? And it consists of multiple ecosystems. So what is ecosystem, that we will study just a minute. But before that, do you know what is this? Correct. Logy always means study. Study of eco, that means study of environment. Ecology refers to study of environment. Okay? Now, environment, I said that it consists of multiple ecosystems. So we need to here understand what is an ecosystem. Okay? Ecosystem basically means in environment what was happening, there was certain biotic component, there was certain abiotic component. Once this biotic and abiotic component starts interacting with each other, something given by biotic to abiotic, something given from abiotic to biotic component. Okay, once this interaction begins, this we will be calling it as an ecosystem. So for an ecosystem, interaction is must. Because interaction is must, we are calling it the live part of environment, because some communication is occurring here. Okay? Within an ecosystem, some communication is occurring. So basically, it's an interaction between organisms and its surroundings. And as we discussed there, multiple ecosystems forms one environment. So similarly, it also becomes a subunit of environment. Okay? I told you its components can be biotic as well as abiotic, just like environment, its components can be biotic or abiotic. But in an ecosystem, it becomes the functional unit of environment. Functional unit because this is performing certain function. The biotic and the abiotic components are communicating with each other. Fine. So it becomes a functional unit of environment or the alive unit. Okay? Next term is that of habitat. Habitat is something which an organism chooses to live in. Okay? For example, you have chosen this institute. Okay? Why will an organism choose this particular habitat? Any idea? Why will an organism choose a particular habitat? To get something, correct? Right. So basically, an organism will choose a habitat or an area only if it is getting something. What they are getting depends upon what is my demand. If I am a plant, then I'll require sunlight, I'll require water, I'll require soil, right? If I'm an animal, then I will require another mating species, plus I will require food for me, plus water in general, right? So depends upon the flora or fauna, there are certain requirements, and the requirements are also limited. For example, I do not want excessive sunlight, I do not want excessive water, I do not want excessive soil. All of them should be in right quantity, right? Only in that case, the organism will choose a particular habitat. So habitat basically means where a plant or animal makes its home or living, where it chooses to live. Okay? The right combination of conditions of survival are met, only in that case the organism is choosing a particular habitat. Now, can you give me an example of habitat? No, did you understand the meaning of habitat? If I give you a species, can you name, tell me the habitat? I'm telling you, name a species. Correct, exactly, simple. Or herbivores, for example, deer or zebra or giraffe. Forest, grasslands. Okay, so in that case, every organism will choose a particular habitat depending upon what that habitat is contributing to it. Okay. Now, if you've understood the meaning of habitat, this is relatively easy to understand. Okay. Ecological niche, this refers to two things. First is the organism's habitat, and second, what is the functional role of that organism in that habitat. Okay, so functional role matlab, if we are talking, let's say, about an aquatic ecosystem, for example fish, what should be the functional role of the fish in the water? What is the responsibility of fish in water? Huh? To breathe, let's say, to breathe. Okay, any other responsibility of fish inside water? Correct, correct. So the responsibility of fish is also to ensure that worms do not overgrow, or responsibility of big fish is also to ensure that small fishes do not overgrow, right? So to control the food chain, to control the limited number of available species is the responsibility of that species in that ecosystem, in that habitat, right? So ecological niche refers to two things. First is the habitat of that organism, and second is the functional role played by that organism in that habitat. Okay, that means every organism should have a specific niche. Every organism can be. Should an animal do such things? Like it should control the other. So they already do so. They already do so. For example, let us talk about a forest. Okay? In a forest, let's say there will be certain trees. Okay, on these trees, let's say certain birds or let's say rabbits are feeding on these shrubs. Okay? On these rabbits, can you give me any second level predator? Let's say fox are feeding on these rabbits. On these fox, tigers are feeding. Okay? So this is how a food chain is proceeding in a forest ecosystem. So the responsibility of tiger is to ensure that foxes do not overgrow. Responsibility of fox is to ensure rabbits do not overgrow. Responsibility of rabbits is to ensure that shrubs do not overgrow. Getting my point? So functional role of the organism, it is not just food, it is also reproduction. They also have to ensure that I am able to reproduce. Tigers have a responsibility in a forest ecosystem to reproduce, or fox also has a responsibility to reproduce, to produce offsprings. Okay? So there are certain functions exhibited by every organism in every habitat. Okay, and these functions are their responsibility. So when we are talking about ecological niche, we are talking about two things. First is the functional role played by that organism, and second is the habitat of that organism. Understood clearly? So every organism has a separate niche. Every organism will have a different niche. Okay? Okay. Now can you answer this question? First one. Ecosystem, correct? Huh? Mm-hmm. Correct. Okay. Second one, can you answer? Try answering. Environment versus habitat versus ecological niche. Food chain is what? Environment or habitat or niche? Okay. Okay, let me frame this question like this. Ecological niche is same as food chain. The statement is true or false? The statement can be either true or false. Food chain is ecological niche same as the food chain of the organism. Is the statement true or false? No, false. Can it? Not only food chain. Correct. Correct. It also consists of like reproduction. Correct. Correct. See, when I am saying ecological niche, matlab I am talking about function. One function you said is to maintain the food chain. Okay, there are other functions also to reproduce. Okay, and ecological niche apart from function itself also consists of habitat. Okay, so habitat plus function together would have formed the ecological niche. Within function, food chain is just one function: to eat, to predate, the system of predation. Reproduction wala function we missed. Okay, so ecological niche, I am saying this consists of two parts. One is habitat and the other one is function. Within function, one function is to eat or nurture. There are other functions to reproduce, right? So the other functions we did not cater to in the food chain part. See? Because they are responsible for maintaining the forest ecosystem. Correct. Yes, that can be a function. Okay. But it can be direct related or indirect. It can be direct, it can be indirect, but it is the function of that organism. Okay. Now coming to biosphere. So biosphere basically refers to the junction of lithosphere plus hydrosphere plus atmosphere. Okay. So we are calling this as biosphere because the possibility of life is here. Okay. There is greater chance of possibility of life at the junction of atmosphere or hydrosphere and lithosphere. But there can be life present purely in hydrosphere, purely in lithosphere and purely in atmosphere. Okay, can you give me any example of life existing purely in hydrosphere, purely in lithosphere or purely in atmosphere? Matlab, are you getting my point? I am asking you for example of an organism which is not living at the surface, because at the surface it will be junction of atmosphere plus lithosphere. Okay, inside the surface of earth, do we have any organisms living? Water bodies. Earthworms. See, reptiles, I will not agree to this because reptiles will still. Do you see reptiles inside the earth's surface? See, I am asking you, there is this junction. Apart from this junction, there are three circles, concentric circles here: lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. Okay? I am telling you ki all of us agree that life is existing here. For example, we are also living in this zone only. Okay? I am asking you example where life, because life can exist purely in hydrosphere, purely in lithosphere, and purely in atmosphere also. Okay, so I am asking you examples of this. So whales or sharks which are living in deep sea can be example of this, but whales still not, because they will come to surface to breathe. Okay, sharks you can write here. Are you understanding what kind of organism I am looking for? Purely living in hydrosphere, purely living in atmosphere. Atmosphere. Organisms which are purely living in this, not coming to even surface. Correct. Amoeba, bacteria, fungi. Why? For example, if you leave food open at home, it gets spoiled. Bread or chapati, if you leave it at home open, it gets spoiled. Can you tell me why? Which is living in air. If they are living in air, that means they are not getting any food supplies. If they sit on the food, then they have something to eat upon and they will nurture there, and you will see that it is getting spoiled. We have suspended fungi in air. We have suspended bacteria in air. Okay? So there are organisms which are living purely in atmosphere. You gave me examples of this, and earthworm can be example of lithosphere. Totally living inside Earth's surface because they will breathe in soil. They will come outside, but they have a capability of living completely inside the earth's surface also. They will breathe with skin inside the earth only. Okay. Okay, now coming to levels of organization. So, levels of organization, we are categorizing various species or individuals across to form the bigger biome, the earth. Okay. So, initially we had only one individual, let's say of any species. Okay, let's say we are talking only with respect to snakes. So, there will be one snake, that will be one individual. Several snakes will together form the population. Okay, snakes plus birds plus let's say rats, rodents, all of this will form community. Matlab, so many species are we are talking about. Here we are talking about only, here we are talking about only one species. Okay, here we are talking about only one species and one population, matlab individual, one person. Okay, here we are talking within one species only. Here we are talking about more than one species. Matlab, so many species have come together. In ecosystem, we are talking about biotic plus abiotic component. Till here, we were talking about only alive components. Okay. Here we are talking about biotic plus abiotic components to form ecosystem. So many ecosystems will together form biome, and so many biome together will form the biosphere. Ha, correct. Biome and biosphere is with respect to the area that they cover. Okay. Now coming to the ecological principles. Okay, in our index, acha, I'll give you certain time to write so that of course we will be discussing about biomes, all the biomes of earth. Okay, one example can be grassland or desert or tundra or rainforest. All these are examples of biome, and biosphere is the entire earth surface. Okay, you write this so that you get an idea of where we are going. Hmm. You guys are all working or preparing? Working, all. Acha, college, working. Acha, preparing full time basis. Acha, acha, acha. During your office hours or during your college time, try to utilize the breaks for revision. Okay, it will be a change for you guys also. Although it requires too much of motivation, but I told you, meditation is the only solution to this. If you are getting, if in case you are getting tired or demotivated, meditation will help you immensely. Done writing this slide? Okay. All this rest I'll give you to, no, no, you write this also, sorry. This is our target for today. Done. So now did you understand? We have covered the first half, environment, ecology and all that, and we will be shifting to this part now. Okay, principles of ecology. Can I change this slide? Done, right? Huh. So I was saying ki principles of ecology may basically we will be reading why an organism looks in a certain manner or why an organism behaves in a certain manner. Okay, so there will be certain kind of adaptation which can be behavioral, there can be certain adaptations which are genetic. Okay, so the ecological principles are the principles, the rules which govern why an organism's behavior is in a particular manner. Okay, so the first ecological principle is that of an adaptation. Adaptation matlab the organism was not initially like this. Okay, was not initially looking like this, or was not in whose normal behavior was not this. Okay, but they adapted themselves with the changing environment. Okay, for example, okay, in evolutionary theory, adaptation is basically a biological mechanism by which an organism adjusts to the new environment. Okay, for example, it can be biological. Biological adaptation example can be Tibetan's hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, have you heard of this term? What is it? Correct, correct. Hemoglobin makes your blood look red. That is because hemoglobin is present in a cell which is red in color, RBC, red blood cell. Okay? So in your blood, there are certain components such as pure water, okay, can be platelets, can be WBC, can be RBC. अपने काम की चीज, whatever we require is there in RBC. Within RBC, there is a chemical called hemoglobin. This hemoglobin is responsible for holding 4 molecules of oxygen. Okay? This hemoglobin is the one that is responsible for transporting oxygen to all of your body and bringing back carbon dioxide to your lungs. Okay? So if we say that blood is responsible, oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood, that classification is done on the basis of whether your hemoglobin is carrying oxygen or whether it is carrying carbon dioxide. Okay? So basically hemoglobin responsible for transportation of oxygen. Now for us, because oxygen is available abundantly, so in our body hemoglobin is absolutely normal. Okay? For those people who are living in higher hilly areas, there geographically speaking the air is thinner. Okay, there is less availability of air itself. Okay, why is there less availability of oxygen? Can be attributed to, first of all, gravitational pull. If earth is attracting something, it is also attracting atmosphere, it is also attracting gases. Okay, so if it is attracting gases, matlab maximum amount of air, maximum amount of gases you will be finding on plains. On higher hilly areas, the availability of gases or availability of atmosphere itself will become less. That is why you will feel that the pressure there, the air pressure will also be lesser. Here the air pressure is also higher because we have more air above us. For them, there is less air above them. Let us compare two places. Let's say all of you are from Karnataka. Okay, so let us talk about a hill station, Chikmagalur, Mulyangiri, Baba Budangiri. Okay, Baba Budangiri is at a very high altitude, one of the highest peaks of entire Western Ghats. Mulyangiri. Okay, so Mulyangiri is the highest peak. Is the highest peak of entire Western Ghats, right? Of Karnataka. Second highest. Highest is Annamalai. It is not highest in Western Ghats. Correct. It is the highest peak of Karnataka. Okay? So Mulyangiri mein, I am talking about a person who is standing at the top of Mulyangiri, and us who are standing at the plains, relatively plains. This is still the plateau part, but we are in terms of altitude, we are at a lower height. He is at a upper height. So the amount of air pressure which he is witnessing, and the amount of air pressure that we are witnessing, because the air above us is more, so the air pressure will also be more, air pressure will also be less. Okay? In general, I'm saying that availability of air is also less there. Availability of air is also more here because the earth is gravity. There is gravity amongst in earth. It is pulling up air. Okay? So we have more availability of oxygen. They have less availability of oxygen. So they must undergo certain kind of adaptation to live in less availability of oxygen also, right? Okay, so their hemoglobin has a capability of carrying lesser amount of oxygen. If the hemoglobin is carrying lesser amount of oxygen, matlab they will not suffocate. For example, I'm saying ki our hemoglobin has a capability of carrying 4 oxygen. For them, let's say it will be only 3 or 2, depending upon what altitude may they're living. So that their hemoglobin can carry less amount of oxygen and they can still survive. If they still had a capability of holding 4 oxygen and there is not availability of an oxygen, so they will suffocate for that oxygen, right? So Tibetan hemoglobin mein, there is this change that the capacity of carrying oxygen is less. Okay? So this is a kind of natural adaptation that they have undergone because of availability, lesser availability of oxygen. Okay. For example, in case of us, this is thermogenesis that you would have witnessed very commonly. Have you ever shivered in cold? Because of cold, have you felt that shivering? That shivering is because your muscle will expand and contract very fast, so that it generates heat and you are able to survive in such kind of extremely cold environment. Or with a normal tendency, we have a habit of rubbing hands. This is also to generate heat. This is a kind of biological adaptation that we are undergoing to experience or to withstand that much amount of cold. Okay? So these are certain biological adaptations undergone by human beings to withstand cold or them to withstand less availability of oxygen. Okay? Now, adaptation can also be behavioral. Behavioral adaptation may example is that of a clustering penguin. Clustering emperor penguins. Emperor penguins are most commonly found in South Pole, but they're also available in North Pole. What do they do is, because of excessive cold, they will cluster like this. And because of this clustering, whatever heat is being generated by one body is being used by the other body. So in totality, they are able to generate heat and able to withstand themselves in an extremely cold environment. So this is a behavioral adaptation done by certain organisms. Okay. The adaptation can also be structural, and here is what I can expect a question coming in prelims. Okay, they will mention the Allen's rule and whether the statement is correct or not. Okay, so structural adaptation can be example of this. Can you see, this is the African elephant and this is the Indian elephant. Can all of you see this? Okay, what is the difference between these two? Can you tell me? What difference can you see between this is the African elephant, this is the Asian elephant? Size is bigger, okay. Ears are bigger, okay. Skin, skin has more surface area as compared to this. You can see wrinkles here. Okay, so why is this? Because they are living in a relatively warmer environment. They are living in a relatively colder environment. Okay? The Allen's rule says that an animal of colder surface will have usually low surface area to volume ratio. Low surface area to volume ratio. For them, the surface area is more. With the same volume, the surface area is more by increasing the size of the ear, by increasing their overall size, by increasing the surface area of the skin. Basically, we are ultimately trying to increase their surface area. If the surface area in warmer areas it is higher, they will be able to dissipate heat more. They will be able to live relatively. They will be able to cool themselves. Okay? So animals which are living in warmer surface area will have high surface area to volume ratio. Animals living in colder surface area will have a low surface area to volume ratio. Okay? Only exception to this is mammoth, a elephant sized animal which was living in Arctic. Okay? So this animal is living in a cold area, was still having a high surface area to volume ratio, high surface area, because it was an elephant sized animal. Okay? In general, in colder areas, you will find very small tiny animals. In warmer areas such as tropics or in grasslands, you will find giraffe or elephant. Okay, so this is kind of structural adaptation. Now, ecological principle can also be varied across variations. Variations matlab, this is caused mostly due to genetic differences. Okay, there will be differences in gene because of which the eye, somebody's eye color is blue, somebody's eye color is brown, hair color is brown, skin color is something, so or height is something. Okay, so there can be various genetic differences which will cause variation. Now within these genetic differences, it can be continuous, can be discontinuous, can be polymorphic. Okay, in case of a continuous variation, the classification within variation can be classified into continuous, discontinuous or polymorphic. If it is continuous variation, matlab there will be height differences amongst people, right? But you cannot categorize them into one category, right? There will be no distinction between this is the height, this is the height. For example, here you can categorize, right? Can you tell me some of the blood groups? Okay. Okay. Correct. So this is all, right? We don't have more than this. So every human being can be categorized into this set. So this becomes a discontinuous form of variation. Okay. Continuous form of variation we are calling, because this is there is a continuity in height. You cannot categorize them into 8 sets or 10 sets or 15 sets also, right? So that becomes continuous. And the polymorphic variation refers to a case wherein there are so many population in every category. Matlab, so many combinations of blue and yellow, so many combinations of blue and light blue, so many combinations of dark blue and light blue. So there will be so many butterflies in every set, and there will be numerous such sets. That is known as polymorphism. Okay? Now, within ecological principles also comes the category of speciation. Speciation matlab development of a new species itself. Okay, all of this time we were not discussing the development of a new species. For example, African elephant, Asian elephant, this snake, that snake. Okay, this rat, that rat. In any case, we were limited to that same species. But here we are brown eyes, blue eyes of human beings only, right? But here, what is happening is creation of a new species is occurring. You can see here the changes in the structure of the beaks. This arose because of the study of this region. Galapagos, basically, it's a small island to the Pacific side of South America. Okay? And a study of evolution of human beings or evolution of life itself was studied from this island. Okay, from the study of beaks only it began, or from the study of peas. Okay, genetics ke liye we have studied the pea, matar. In Hindi we call this as matar. Okay, the normal pea that you see in market, the study of genetics began from there, and the study of evolution began from here. Okay, what is the structure of beaks of birds? Why did it shape like this? Can you tell me? Can you guess why will a bird have such kind of beak, and why will a bird have such sharp beaks? Why blunt beaks and why sharp beaks? In Correct. So I was asking examples. For example, a bird which is living in a tree, which is having less number of insects. So what it has to do? It has to cut the trunk of the tree to look for insects. In that case, its beak should be sharp because it has to fetch the insects from a depth. Okay. If it is having a blunt beak, matlab there is excessive availability of food. It does not need to compete with others to get food, right? So the structure of the beak changed. What you said was correct. Over a period of time, depending upon geographical conditions, depending upon environmental conditions, their structure changed. Okay? And so within this, there can be the categories. So speciation we understood, right? Generation of a new species itself. Okay. So it can occur because of allopatric speciation. Allopatric speciation occur due to isolation due to physical barrier. You imagine one island. Okay? Within this island, because of volcanic eruption, there was a growth of mountain or a plateau, because of which entire species which was living in this island got divided into two parts. Okay, to one side, let's say we had more availability of food, the other side we had less availability of food. So which led to somebody having blunt beak, somebody having sharp beak. Okay? So which led to speciation. So speciation occurring because of a physical barrier, this is allopatric speciation. Okay, if it is occurring because of a smaller group getting separated from the bigger one, okay, let's say for some reason a smaller group was separated from a bigger one, this we are calling as a peripatric speciation. Okay, this is more or less same as this, but here physical barrier is not coming up. And as I said here, equal, this is more or less equal division in case of allopatric speciation. Peripatric mein one is a smaller set, the other one is a bigger set. Okay? Speciation can also be parapatric or can be sympatric. Parapatric mein, the problem is, why did this kind of speciation occur? Because it was spread over a very large geographical area and mating was done only with similar geographical location. For example, I'll give you example of a grass. You don't need to remember the name of the grass. This is not required for exam. But I wrote it just to make you understand the example to this. So this grass is very well known to grow in only healthy soil. If the soil is having metal content, increasing metal content, it is not supposed to grow. It will die off. Okay? So in a very big island, this grass was growing. But when this grass came into contact with a water body, wherein in this water body industrial effluents were dumped, or by some means metal was able to reach till this water body, then these grasses started showing certain kind of adaptation, speciation, wherein they have started to live on a metal rich soil also. Okay, now we are calling it as a different species because this species we know is not supposed to grow on a metal rich soil. Okay? But it is still growing in a metal rich soil. So we are saying that a new species has developed. Okay? So, and then from there mating kept on occurring and the new species continued to develop. So that becomes a parapatric speciation. Parapatric speciation may the species is developing over a very big geographical area and a mating is occurring only with similar geographical location. Matlab, only if you are living in that piece of island, the one grass will mate with the other one. But they have shown this. They have started growing on metal rich soil, proving that there is occurrence of a new species there. Okay? And the last one is that of a sympatric speciation. Sympatric speciation may see what is happening here is you see this insect which is living in apple. Okay, this insect is known as an apple maggot. APPLEMAGGOTS. Okay, apple maggots. They are supposed to live and eat on apples only. Okay, but there is one more species of fruit. The species is known as hawthorn species, HAWTHORN. Okay, this looks like apple. These species of insects by the name apple maggots, they started to live on this also. Okay, and we started calling them as a different species. Now by logic, just because that they are eating something, we are calling it them as separate species. Or here also, just because they started living on metal rich soil, we started calling them as separate species, right? Logically, this is not a separate species. They are the same species with a different food adaptation, right? But this classification is also agreed to by certain scientists, not agreed to by certain scientists. Okay? They are saying that if you have to keep parapatric and sympatric speciation, it must come under speciation only. Okay? Or otherwise, we will be calling this as an adaptation to a different food environment. Okay? Now, because of all, one more mutation is left. So mutation, what is happening is this is also a genetic change. We have studied about genetic change also in variation, right? So you will see similarity here with respect to variation. In mutation also there will be certain genetic changes. So this is also occurring because of change in structure of gene, and it can be inherited, it can be acquired. Okay? Inherited may the examples can be whatever genetic change an organism is witnessing coming from their parents. We are calling it as inherited. For example, sickle cell or hemophilia. Have you heard of these two? Can you tell me them about any one of them? None of no, you've not not heard. I thought yes. Please tell me what happened. अच्छा, you don't remember. Okay, okay. Okay. Sickle cell और hemophobia इससे कुछ पता चल रहा है? Hemophilia is basically deficiency. Okay, hemophilia basically means you get a wound. What happens? You get a cut. What happens is over a period of time, wound will develop and the blood will stop. Right? You imagine a condition where the blood is not stopping itself. Okay, then the person has a tendency of dying because of not stopping of this blood oozing out of the blood. This is the condition known as hemophilia. It's a chromosomal disorder, genetic disorder acquired by children from parents. Okay, hemophilia is a condition wherein the person will not be able to, or the organism is not able to control the oozing out of blood. Wound formation will not occur. That is hemophilia. This is inherited. I'm saying you inherited form of mutation because the this organism has acquired, inherited it from their parents. Okay? The organism himself or herself did not change over time. They just got it from their parents. That's why we are calling it as inherited. Okay? Sickle cell is another kind of, sickle cell is an anemia. Anemia, have you heard? What is anemia? Less hemoglobin. Less of hemoglobin. Anemia because can occur because of so many reasons, but in general, ultimately, hemoglobin is less. Okay? Now, sickle cell anemia is a special case wherein, see, this is how our RBC will look like. Okay? RBC has a structure like this. Okay? This is how our red blood cells will look like. Okay? The one that is making your blood look red in color, this is actually looking like this. Okay? And it is holder of hemoglobin, so it will carry hemoglobin with itself. Okay? A normal life of RBC is almost 180 days. It will live for 180 days, or for in general now it has come down to 120 days also. Okay? So normal life of RBC is around 120 to 180 days. But if your RBC is not shaped like this, it is shaped like this. You can see in the shape of sickle. Okay? So in this case, the life of RBC gets reduced to 30 days. Okay? So the life of RBC reducing, matlab the person is not having enough RBC, matlab the person is not having enough hemoglobin. That means the person has a tendency of dying. Right? Now, those people who are having this sickle cell, in general, their average lifespan is around 30 years, 25 to 30 years. They cannot live beyond 30 years. Okay? But there is an advantage associated to this such people. Have you heard of malaria? What is it? It's a bacterial disease, fungal disease. Any idea? It is caused by a protozoa. Malaria, no, malaria is caused by a protozoa. Okay? The vector is mosquito, but the mosquito itself is holding a protozoa, malarial protozoa. Okay? So once you get a mosquito bite, what does the mosquito do? It will inject that protozoa in your blood, and that malarial protozoa will come and sit in your hemoglobin. Because it is sitting in your RBC, because it is sitting here, it will live for 120 days and spread. Okay? And that is how a person acquires malaria. So one thing about malaria you should know, it is the most death causing organism of earth. Okay, we do not have malaria causes so much amount of death which is not caused by any organism, no drugs, no accident, nothing. Okay, that is the extent of malaria. So all in all, I was saying because malarial protozoa will sit in your RBC. Okay? Now if they are sitting in this kind of RBC, so the life of RBC is not too much, right? So they cannot spread. So those people who are suffering from those who have sickle cell anemia will never suffer from malaria. Okay? We do have certain species in India, limited, it's very limited to forests area only. Few people which is living in Gir forest region. Okay? They are immune to malaria, very prone to sickle cell anemia. Okay? So all in all, can you see, these are all inherited. They will get it from their parents. Okay? Mutation can also be acquired. Acquired, it has been developed due to sudden or environmental factors. Certain factors can be certain factors can be smoking over a period of time. So if you're smoking over a period of time, what happens is your certain cells, every cell has a limited quantity of expansion. Matlab, there is another cell which is telling ki you have expanded, multiplied 10 to 10 times today, you don't multiply more. Okay. Now imagine where this messenger is killed. That means this cell will continue multiplying. This is the condition of tumor which overgrows to become cancer. Okay? In cancer, cancer is simply overgrowing cell. That's it. But the problem occurs because this overgrowing cell starts pushing other cells. Okay. So, so I was saying ki acquired mutation can be because of any sudden or environmental change. For example, cancer. Okay. Now, ultimately, because of all of this, because of, let's say, adaptation or speciation or mutation or variation, because of all of this, the organism will start looking differently. Matlab, it can either lead to speciation and evolution of the organism. For example, you imagine a case wherein giraffes were not having enough food to eat. What they did was they started evolving with a longer neck, longer neck, longer neck, longer neck. So what they did was ultimately they evolved. Okay. There can be certain species who will not be able to evolve or adapt or vary or speciate with a changing environment. For example, dinos, for example, Archaeopteryx. Okay, Dinosaurs or Archaeopteryx, they were not able to cope up with the changing environment. So dinosaurs died. So Archaeopteryx died. Have you heard of dinosaurs and Archaeopteryx also? No, Archaeopteryx is a intermediate species between reptiles and birds. Okay, you would have seen in certain dinos also, they will have wings and a tail and 4 legs, I mean 4 limbs, 2 forward and 2 backward. So this is a kind of Archaeopteryx is kind of such kind looking organisms. They can fly, they are also reptiles. Okay. So I was saying because of all of this development, the species will either evolve or speciate, become turn into a different species, or will become extinct. Okay? This is the process of natural selection. Natural selection is the process through which the populations of living organisms either adapt to the change. So this is known as natural selection. In that case, the nature has naturally selected them to continue with the environment. Okay? Now coming to what you will see in your exam, from here we can expect more questions in prelims. From there you can expect more questions related to Allen's rule, or which of the following are ecological principles. Such kind of questions you can expect. Okay. Now here, have you heard of this term ecotone? Not heard? Not heard? Ecotone basically refers to a zone which is at the interjunction of 2 different ecosystems. For example, muddy marshy lands, which is at the junction of water and land. Right? Or have you heard of delta or estuary? Delta also no? What is delta? Correct. The place where river is connecting the sea, there you will find either delta or estuary. Okay? You people have not studied geography? Yeah, sorry, did you, can you please remind me how many of you have covered geography? Partial, why started? You are in the same batch, right? Okay. So, I was saying ki delta or estuary, you will find it in areas where river is meeting the sea. Okay? The difference between these two, the difference between delta and estuary is this. Okay, delta is basically a depositional structure. River in its course has brought sediments in the entire lifetime. For example, you imagine Ganga river starting from Himalayas. Okay, they would have brought the sediments from Himalayas, Uttarakhand, UP, Bihar, West Bengal, and then reaching then entering Bangladesh and meeting the sea, Bay of Bengal Sea. So this river has brought sediments. What happens as soon as it meets the water body, the sea, is that it will suddenly deposit and meet the sea. Okay? This is delta. So delta will be a triangular depositional structure. Now coming to the estuary side. Estuary mein what is happening is, this is not a depositional structure. This is an erosional structure. The river in its course will come running towards the sea with such a force that it will break a piece of land just when it is about to meet the sea. Okay, the river has so much current in itself, it has a tendency of breaking apart or cutting a piece of land just where the point where it is meeting the sea. This becomes the erosional structure known as estuary. Okay, the examples include that of the rivers of the western part of the Western Ghats. Okay, can we switch on AC? This is suffocating, and I think that's the reason you're feeling sleepy. Can you please open this or switch on AC? It's okay. नहीं नहीं. We need ventilation. Fan will not help in ventilation, just circulation. Okay. So, we were discussing about delta and estuary. Achha, how many of you are still feeling sleepy? Can we take the break? Not sleepy? Okay. Okay. So, the difference between delta and estuary we were discussing. In terms of delta, she wanted to say yes, but because we have to follow democracy. Okay. So, I was saying the place where the river is meeting the sea, because let's say about Godavari or Krishna or Kaveri, where are they originating? Godavari or Krishna or Kaveri? Let's say Kaveri in Talkaveri. Where is Talkaveri? Western Ghats. I wanted to hear this answer only. Okay, yes, but Talkaveri is also correct. So, because it is originating from Western Ghats, Kaveri is traveling from Karnataka, entering into Tamil Nadu, and then meeting the Bay of Bengal, right? In its catchment area also comes the states of Kerala. Okay? Kerala is also coming within the catchment area. Catchment area matlab area which is drained by the sea. Drained by the river. Catchment area refers to the area which is drained by a particular river. The river might not be flowing in that state, but it's the irrigated land can be coming in that state, so we will be calling it as a catchment area. Okay? Clear? So I am saying that Kaveri is originating in Talkaveri in Karnataka Western Ghats. It is traveling from the western part of Karnataka to the eastern part, crossing over Tamil Nadu and then meeting the sea. So in its course, it has carried too much amount of sediments, which it will deposit as soon as it meets the Bay of Bengal. Okay? It will deposit and meet the sea. Okay? Just before it is about to meet the sea, it will become very slow because it has become very heavy, too much amount of water plus too much amount of sediments. Okay? So as soon as it meets another water, what it will do is it will leave off the sediment and meet the sea, meet the water. Okay? This is how delta is formed. In case of an estuary, matlab we are talking about rivers which are originating to the western part of the Western Ghats. Okay? Narmada, Tapi will also not work. There is one river by the name from M in Goa. It's a Mahadai. Mahanadi is north. I mean Odisha. Mahadai river dispute. There is, I think, is some, not very sure, but I think it is Mahadai only. Let us say it is XYZ. Okay? A river which is originating in Goa, western part of Western Ghats, and meeting the sea. No lifetime, no long course to carry the sediments. Plus, it is coming from the top of the mountains. So, if it is coming from top of the mountains, it will move with a huge current and meet the sea. So that means it is not patiently meeting the sea. It is moving with too much amount of current and force and meeting the sea. So it has a tendency of breaking down, cutting apart. Okay? So that is the formation of an estuary. Now delta and estuary, can this be called as an ecotone is my question. So if it is, what was an ecotone? Ecotone, I said, it is the zone of transition between two ecosystems. It can be terrestrial or aquatic. It can be brackish water, fresh water. It can be for dense forest and desert. Between two ecosystems. One ecosystem is desert. One ecosystem is forest, dense forest. So let's say I am the grassland. I will be in between these two. Okay? So that becomes an ecotone. Or I am calling delta or estuary. That statement that I asked, delta and estuary, can it be called as an ecotone? The answer is yes. Because, if okay. So why can we call it? Correct, 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 correct. Because it is a zone of transition between fresh water, that is river, and marine water, that is sea. Okay? So delta or estuary can also become an ecotone. Okay? Correct, correct. Called as ecotone. Okay. So ecotone is a zone of transition between ecosystems, can be estuaries, grasslands, or mangrove. Now, those species which are living in these ecotone have a capability of living in left also, right also. For example, exactly, perfect. Frogs. Frogs are capable of living on land and in water. Snakes, okay, have a capability of living on land or on water. Okay, one example I'll add to this is Irrawaddy dolphins. You go home and see the image of Irrawaddy dolphins. Okay, they usually, what you see, imagine as the image of dolphin, that they will have a beak, right? This is not all dolphins look like. Okay, the Gangetic River dolphins or the Indus River dolphin will look like this, one having beak. Okay, Irrawaddy dolphins will have a blunt face like this. Okay, and Irrawaddy dolphins are capable of living in both marine, matlab sea, and are also found in Odisha, inside the river, Mahanadi river. ठीक है? Yes, yes. No, no, no. They will still be living at the top of the surface, close to the seashore, not inside deep sea. But I'm saying they will be living in marine water, brackish water, salt water. ठीक है? So, acha, you understood what was her question also, right? These species which are living in ecotone are known as edge species, and this behavior of them living in both the sides of the ecosystem is known as the edge effect. Exactly. Yes, very good. It can be, that can be an example. Okay. Now coming to two concepts: ecological footprint, biocapacity, and debtor. Okay. Okay. So tell me if you want break. Okay. Ecological footprint. Ecological footprint basically refers to, for example, you are sitting in this classroom. Okay? In this classroom, you will require light, you will require fan, you will require chair, table, laptop, and all that. Okay? So, to generate all of this, there will be a piece of land for which some cultivation was done, some energy was generated in that piece of land. Okay, be it thermal power, be it hydel power, some energy must have generated to create this, to generate this energy. Some part of earth there will be a piece of land which was manufacturing this tube light, manufacturing this fan, manufacturing this chair table. So all such pieces of land which generated enough resource for your consumption today, all such pieces of land together will be known as the ecological footprint. Plus, whatever energy you are generating, there will also be a waste associated to it. For example, you wrote your notes today. After few, all of you, let's say, clear the exam, then this notes will not be of any use. So this will go in vain. So all these notes will require a decomposition place. That piece of land also, which will, whatever waste you are generating, that waste must be consumed by the piece of land, right? So this waste piece, this land which is consuming your waste will also be coming inside your ecological footprint. Okay, did you understand the meaning? Now, ecological footprint is basically the demand which is created by an organism. Your demand of electricity, your demand of fan, your demand of chair, table, laptop, and all that. All the demand that is created, that has been created by an organism on the global natural resources. Okay, this can be mathematically explained in terms of biologically productive land and sea, all that pieces of land and sea that were biologically productive, that shall be consumed to generate renewable resource for consumption. For example, you are consuming this, you are consuming renewable resource. Okay? And to create this renewable resource, how much amount of land was used? I'll read this line once again. Biologically productive land and sea that shall be consumed to generate renewable resource for consumption. This is known as your ecological footprint. And it also includes the amount of land required to absorb the waste that you have generated, that we have generated. Okay? Are you clear with this? There will be two components in an ecological footprint. For correct, correct. Your demand and the again demand for consumption of this waste. Okay? The amount of land and sea that you have used for consumption of these resources. Okay? Plus whatever waste you are generating, that waste must be used up by the piece of land, right? So these two together will be known as the ecological footprint. Ultimately, it is the demand side. Okay? Measured in hectares. Matlab energy apart from classroom. Okay. Let's say apart from classroom, let's say in a day, all of us are traveling from one place to the other, right? Let's say a person is traveling from A to B. Okay? So they will make use of, let's say, Ola. They will make use of booking the Ola. With Ola, they will travel to some place, and after that, they will walk to their final destination. Okay? So in this process, apart from this, you will require mobile to be charged for booking Ola. You will also require petrol to be fueled to for that Ola. Plus, you will require a manufacturing unit to make that auto. Okay. Plus, you will require infrastructure, this road for that auto to travel. Plus, you will require signals, right? And your final destination of walking. So, your amount of food that you will consume to walk. So, all this consumption of energy or resource, okay, all this consumption of energy and resource ke liye you will require a piece of land, right? The piece of land manufacturing auto, piece of land manufacturing energy, piece of land manufacturing, or piece of sea manufacturing petrol. Okay, so all this together, the land and sea which is catering to your demand will be together known as the ecological footprint. Oh, acha, acha. Okay, with that we will see in the next biocapacity plus ecological data may you will see. Okay? She is asking what is the context of ecological footprint? Where are we reading it in current affairs right now, right? Okay. Okay, so we understood that they are measured in hectares. So this was the demand side. So there should be also a supply side. There should be a supply side, right? What the earth is able to provide. This was what you were demanding. There should be a side wherein what earth should be able to provide. That is basically known as the biocapacity. Biocapacity is the amount of resource available to people at a particular point in time. That is the supply side. Okay? So biocapacity becomes the supply side. Now, what we are demanding and what is being supplied, there is a difference between these two, right? We are demanding much higher than what is being supplied. Okay? So this gap will make us an ecological debtor, and this you will read in current affairs very often. Okay? That human beings are an ecological debtor. We are calling ourselves as an ecological debtor because our ecological footprint is way higher than our biocapacity. Okay? Okay. You want to write? Or shall I share the slides and that will be sufficient? Chalega? You're able to get the context without writing also, right? Okay. Okay. No. No. We will be covering the mains part here itself. Everything will be covered here. Do you have any subject like this? Then in the prelims and mains part is discussed? No, I don't think so. In every subject, prelims and mains will be clubbed together and taught. Acha, acha, acha. No, 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 no. This is for prelims as well as mains. Acha, acha, nahi. This is for both prelims and mains, but majorly for prelims. Mains may of late 1 or 2 questions have started appearing. Earlier, there was only one question maximum related to EIA or anything which was running in current affairs. Okay. Okay. What is EIA? You wrote in your syllabus. Correct. Environmental impact assessment. Okay. Now coming to the functions of ecological succession. Sorry. No, this should be functions. I'm so sorry. This is functions of ecology itself, not ecological succession. There are certain functions of ecosystem. Our ecosystem will provide us with nutrient. Our ecosystem will provide us with chemicals. Our ecosystem will provide us with energy, food. Okay. Ecosystem also has a functional role of recreation. You feel good by going into nature, right? So recreation, motivation, and happiness. There are certain functions also, but we will not be discussing that part. If you feel happy, you go out and travel. That's not our limited to our syllabus, but our syllabus is limited to what your ecosystem is providing you in terms of energy, in terms of succession, in terms of homeostasis and all that. Okay. So here we will begin with functions of our ecosystem. Okay. Okay, so the functions of ecosystem can be succession and homeostasis, can be trophic levels, can be flow of food, okay, or it can also be nutrient recycling, biogeochemical cycles, the nutrient recycling. Okay. Now coming to the first function of ecosystem is ecological succession. Ecological succession refers to development of any habitat of an ecosystem. Okay. You imagine Earth when it was created. You have heard of degassing, photosynthesis, and solar winds, which ultimately led to the formation of Earth. Our Earth, initially we say that it is formed because of 3 stages. In the first stage, when the Big Bang theory occurred, okay, there were several balls revolving around in our solar system. Okay, the ball that we live on, Earth. Okay, in this ball also there were so many lighter gases, heavier gases, lighter metals, and heavier metals. Once we had a big solar wind which was responsible for removing lighter gases out of our atmosphere. And because of this continuous rotation and revolution, it started to cool down. Okay? Because of this continuous rotation and revolution also, what are we talking about? Whose rotation and revolution? Earth, correct. Okay. So because of this continuous rotation and revolution, the heavier metals concentrated in the core, or that is center part of Earth. That is why you will find nickel and iron more in core. Okay. Because these are the heaviest amongst all the metals which are found. So the heavier metals concentrated in the core and the lighter metals formed the crust. Okay? In this rotation and revolution period, first phase was solar winds which removed the lighter gases. The second phase that we will be having, it will be degassing. So from inside the Earth's surface, volcanic eruptions occurred. These volcanic eruptions resulted in formation, contributing to our Earth's atmosphere, water vapor most commonly, carbon dioxide, as well as carbon dioxide and SO2. These were the 3 major contributors of volcanic eruption to our Earth's surface. Okay? So stage 1, solar winds, which removed the lighter gases. Stage 2, degassing, which led to presence of water vapor in our Earth's atmosphere. Okay? In the stage 3, we began with photosynthesis, and photosynthesis converted majority of our carbon dioxide to oxygen. Okay? So this is how the final day, what we live on, in the geological cycle, this is how our Earth was formed. Okay? Now here we are talking about a stage wherein the first plant was developed on Earth. First plant which took birth. Okay? So there was no life. Then there occurred first organism, the first prokaryote, the first single cell animal. Okay? From single celled animal, it developed over a period of time to become a eukaryote. Okay, and this eukaryote developed further to become, let's say, we say that the life has first existed in water, underwater. Okay, so the life must have come inside water, then it developed over water, then it came on land, developed on land. That is how ecological succession occurred. Okay, so ecological succession basically is the mix of species and habitat changes over a period of time. Okay, at the first, when the first species has settled and continued to live, the first such species we will be calling as the pioneer species. Okay? Pioneer species will be the pioneer one, the first species to occupy a living space, the biosphere. Okay? Pioneer species. Now this pioneer species evolved and developed and speciated and variated and mutated over a period of time. All such consecutive species we will be calling as series. ठीक है. And these series continued and developed and evolved and mutated and variated and speciated, ultimately to come to one final community wherein all the species were stable, happy and healthy. This community we will be calling as climax community. Climax community matlab they are the best in this environment. They cannot evolve more, they cannot speciate more, they do not need any kind of variation. Now imagine Saturn has collided with Earth, or after all the development. For example, we are the climax community. We, along with plants, along with tigers and cheetah and lion and all that, we are all climax community, and we are living happily. Now imagine a condition where Saturn suddenly collides with Earth. Now all the life lost, everything lost, or suddenly entire Earth starts to erupt, volcanic eruption occurs. Okay, so all the life will be gone. Okay, and again life has to restart. Okay, so there will be certain kind of major disturbance in water or nutrition level. Okay, and in which there will be a fall of climax community. The climax community itself will be lost, and then there will be a restart of ecological succession. This we will be calling as the secondary succession. In the first stage, there was development of pioneer species, then series, then climax community. This is end of our primary succession. Primary succession mein everybody was living happily until and unless there was a major overhaul in terms of water, in terms of, you imagine World War and the end of world. No presence of life. Then the life has to restart, right? This will be known as the secondary succession. ठीक है? Scared? No. Okay. Now coming to homeostasis. Okay. So we discussed one function of our ecosystem as the ecological succession. Ecological succession we are calling as a function because our ecosystem itself is developing, helping us to develop, to adapt, to variate, to speciate, to mutate, to become the climax community. Okay. So that is one of the function of ecosystem. Another function of ecosystem is to undertake homeostasis. Homeostasis, by technical definition, it simply means that it will allow an organism to maintain a constant temperature. That's it. Okay? It will allow an organism to maintain a constant body temperature and pressure conditions. That is homeostasis. Okay? Now, this is basically a self-regulating process. Self-regulating, we are calling this because let's say you enter into a zone where there is too much hot and humidity. Okay? The temperature is quite high. If the temperature is quite high, you will start sweating. If you start sweating, that means there is a water loss from your body, and this water, once it evaporates, it will cool down your body. So this, can you see this as a self-regulating process? It is re-regulating its own self. Your body temperature increasing, sweat coming to the surface, sweat evaporating, and the skin cooling down. Getting my point? So this becomes a self-regulatory process. This is a self-regulatory process, homeostasis. And what you have understood just now is basically a negative feedback mechanism. Okay? We are calling this as negative feedback mechanism is because your body or an organism's body will undertake certain changes which will prohibit any further change. For example, your body temperature increasing, you sweating, and your body temperature cooling down. So what your sweating mechanism, what they did is they prohibited further increase in temperature. They brought down your body temperature. That's why we are calling it as a negative feedback mechanism. Understood? So in negative feedback mechanism, there is a stimulus. Matlab your body, your skin feeling temperature. Temperature higher than, let's say, 37 degrees. With this, there are sensors like nerve cells which are sending signals to your brain that the temperature is increasing. So brain actually asks the temperature controller because as soon as this temperature crosses, you start sweating. So there was information sent to your sweat glands. Now you start sweating. So once you start sweating, your body temperature will cool down, start cooling down again, right? Again, as soon as the body temperature increases to 37 degrees, we will enter into this cycle. Okay? So that is how your negative feedback mechanism works. That is how it becomes a self-regulatory process. Now, living organisms can maintain internal stability while adjusting to the changing external conditions. For example, I told you shivering or rubbing your hands. By that, what we are doing is actually trying to maintain our own internal body temperature. Now, because of this change in, let's say, temperature or pressure, the organisms will try to pull themselves in that bracket, right? This can be done by four things, four mechanisms. Matlab, your self-regulating process can occur in four mechanisms. The first one is regulation. Regulation matlab what we are experiencing. We are known as endotherms, or we are also known as warm-blooded animals. Warm-blooded animals is because we are calling ourselves as warm-blooded or endotherm is because our internal body temperature can be controlled by us. Matlab, sorry, whatever is our body temperature, that will be only whatever is our body temperature is only generated because of the heat inside our body. Okay, endotherm matlab the therm is coming from inside. Okay, there can be conformation, they are ectotherms. Matlab for them, looking at the outer temperature, they will change their own body temperature. They are known as ectotherm, all cold blooded. For example, certain lizards, okay, or even fishes. In extreme winters, do you own any aquarium? Anybody? Aquarium. So do you change the water because it is very hot? Let's say in extreme winters, do you supply warm water to your fishes? Achha. Adjust. Oh, okay. Nahin, but I am telling you ki all fishes, they are cold blooded. Okay, so we don't require any kind of temperature regulation. They will regulate their own body temperature. If in extreme winters the water becomes very cold in which they are living, they have a capability of adapting themselves to such cold temperatures. नहीं अच्छा okay, it can be ornamental. It can be ornamental fishes, but I'm telling you in general fishes category, that entire fish category will be putting in cold blooded only. Okay, we are putting them in cold blooded because they have a capability of adjusting their body temperature with respect to whatever temperature is going outside. Or lizards, okay, lizards maybe they also have a capability of adjusting their body temperature according to temperature what is going on outside. Birds, they do not have this capability. In winter season, you would have seen birds, extreme winters mein, they will expand their fur, okay, to trap the air. You will see birds expanding their fur like this, and they are trapping the air because air acts as an insulator, so they will be able to keep themselves warmer. Okay, so birds or us, we do not have capability, or dinosaurs or lizards or fishes have this capability of changing their internal body temperature depending upon what is going on outside. We do not have such capability, so we will wear sweaters and jackets and sit in AC or make certain adjustments like that. Okay? There can be also homeostasis can also be maintained through migration. Here they are feeling excessive cold, so they will leave this place and go to some place which is warmer. Or if there is extremely hot there, they will leave that place and come to a place which is relatively colder. So they will migrate. Species will migrate to self-regulate their temperature. Okay? Or they can also undergo hibernation, aestivation, and torpor. Okay? Hibernation we know is no winter sleep. What they do is actually they will eat for 6 months and sleep off. For example, polar bears. They will hibernate. This is known as winter sleep. Its exact opposite is aestivation. Aestivation refers to summer sleep. During excessive summer, excessive heat, this usually happens in desert areas. Extreme summers mein what they will do is they will eat and they will sleep off for 6 months. Okay? This is winter sleep, this is summer sleep. This is basically controlling their metabolism. What they do is they will reduce the speed of their metabolism such that they do not require food itself for a very long period of time. This is also a self-regulating process, right? So this was another function of our ecosystem. Next function is that of energy flow. Okay? Energy flow may basically what we will be reading is about food chain, about trophic level, about food web, about who is the predator, who is the prey. Okay? Coming to the food chain. So in general, we will be discussing food chain like this, that this is an example of a terrestrial ecosystem. Okay, in aquatic ecosystem, the things will change, but in general, the things are like this. So there will be soil, then plants, then there will be certain species which are feeding on these plants. Then there will be primary predators who will be feeding on these herbivores. For example, birds eating insects. Okay? So birds will become the primary predators. Then there will be secondary predators who are feeding on these, let's say birds or snakes or frogs. There will be secondary predators, for example, fox. Then there can be tertiary predators who will be feeding on these secondary predators, such as lion, tiger, or all big cats. Okay? Now, basically, food chain is a depiction of our predator and prey relationship. Okay? Who is eating whom? Okay, who is the prey and who is the predator? Who is eating whom? This relationship is depicted in food chain. Okay? Now, each step or level of the food chain denotes the trophic level. So every trophic level is basically denoting, each step of the food chain is basically denoting a trophic level. This is a trophic level, this is a trophic level, this is a trophic level. So plants will come in the first trophic level, herbivores will be coming into the second trophic level, primary predators will be coming in the third trophic level, secondary predators will be coming in the fourth trophic level. That is how trophic level is expanding. Okay? And whenever we say about a trophic level, we are talking about all the species in that. But we are not talking about one frog or one snake. We are talking about all the frogs available across earth, all the snakes available across earth. Okay? And energy available at each trophic level gets diminished progressively. And this is known as the rule of Lindman's. So here I can expect a question coming from prelims. For example, I told you they can ask you Allen's rule. They can similarly ask you Lindman's rule also. Okay? Lindman's rule says that as and when we progress in food chain, okay, across this level, only 10% of the energy gets transferred. Okay? 90% of the energy is either consumed or released into the air in the form of heat. For example, let us talk about a plant. Okay? It processed its food by using sunlight, photosynthesis. Food was prepared. Okay, by making this food, what it did was, what did it do with that food? It utilized, consumed to grow. Okay, or for example, you leave that fruit in the tree itself. Okay, so what will happen over a period of time? This energy will be lost in the form of heat. So ultimately, whatever energy is being provided at every trophic level, it is either allowing the organism to grow or it is getting dissipated in the form of heat. So ultimately, very small amount of energy is left to be entered into the next trophic level. That's why that is 10%. For example, the amount of energy here is 100. It will be only 10 here. It will be only 1 here. It will be only 0.1 here. Okay? That is the Lindman's rule. And this energy loss is occurring because the organism is itself consuming that energy. 100 units of energy created because of photosynthesis. So 90 units it consumed for itself. Either can be lost in form of heat or can be used to grow. Only 10 was entering into the body of rabbits. Okay? So that is loss of energy at every level, and a number of food chains combined together to form the food web. Okay? Okay, in food chain there is a common flow of energy. So in common flow of energy, in terms of terrestrial ecosystem, the common flow of energy mostly occurs in detritus food chain. So that means in terrestrial ecosystem, what commonly you will find is the detritus food chain. Detritus food chain, if we say, matlab it is beginning with a detrivore. Detrivore is somebody who is feeding on dead and decomposing organisms. Okay? So in terrestrial ecosystem, the baseline of our trophic levels will be, the baseline of our food chain will be a detrivore, a saprotroph, or a decomposer. Okay? They are all the same thing. Or in case of an aquatic ecosystem, most commonly what you will be finding is a grazing food chain. Grazing food chain, there will be grasses at the base. Here, detrivores were at the base. Here, grasses will be there at the base. Okay? Okay. Ultimately, detritus food chain or grazing food chain gets connected to form the food chain, the food web. There will be something coming from land, something coming from sea, which would have met somewhere to form that food web. Okay. Now give me 5 minutes. I'll take a break and then join again. In the meantime, if you